When you have other couples that you can learn from and even have fun with, it makes marriage even more enjoyable. You can learn from each other. Maybe someone has gone through the current things that you're currently going through, or even vice versa.
And it's you and me, babe, whatever comes. Knowing bigger hands are holding us, and the greatest days are ahead of us. Growing in love, learning to be a better us.
Hey, welcome to A Better Us and to our home. And thanks for having us in your home, too.
You know, someone once said that everyone is defined by the communities they belong to. And I think that can be said for couples, too.
Right. Well, in today's Loveology segment, Damien and Kenady Nash talk about the benefits to your marriage of connecting with other couples.
And Bill and Pam Farrel are once again on the boat, this time talking about elusive aha moments in marriage. You're going to have to wait and find out what they mean.
Right.
Coming up.
All of our kitchen couples are here to dive into both of these topics, and it all starts right now.
Hey, you guys, we have a question that's come in from someone that's just asking about the value of being in community, the idea of doing life together with other couples, whether that's in a small group or friendships or so forth. When the question came in, I thought of you guys because you really value this. Talk to us about why it's so important to be in community with other couples when we're a married couple.
Yeah. And so marriage is already hard. And so when you isolate yourself, you're going through those challenges alone. But when you have other couples that you can learn from and even have fun with, it makes marriage even more enjoyable. You can learn from each other. Maybe someone has gone through the current things that you're currently going through, or even vice versa. We can give each other advice and just root for each other.
And Damien, I know that, sometimes it's the guy that's the most reluctant to kind of do this. It's like, kind of the rugged individualist kind of mentality. I don't need to be in a group with other people, You don't feel that way. Why is that?
Because we always do better when other people are watching. And I learned this from my father. He had small groups where he went with his pastor friends and went out and gleaned from each other and asked those tough questions as well.
Yeah, and there really is something about, it's not necessarily an accountability group. It doesn't even have to be a study group or whatever, but the idea of just having community, just even for social interaction, there's things that happen organically within that where you start to learn from each other as couples, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. And just that fun, it's really a fun thing. When we're so bogged down with the hardness of marriage, sometimes we lose that fun and that spark. And so having people that you can enjoy common hobbies with to do and just get out and enjoy the love that each other shares.
And that's different than having the one-on-one friendships that I went out golfing with my buddy and came home and debriefed it with my wife. There's something about the shared social environment of that. Now, so here's my question to you. If somebody is going, okay, I like that. What do they do? They're going, I'd like to have a small group. What do they do to get one started?
One thing you can do is be intentional and start your own meetup. I know they have this, I think it's a website called Meetup. And so you can create that. Also, you can join a church. A lot of churches have small groups and cell groups. And so you can be intentional to start your own group.
And a lot of times it's using social media, putting a post on your Instagram or Facebook, hey, I'm looking for other couples that would like to go bowling this Saturday, and just creating those organic relationships.
And I know some people are hearing this and they're cringing, going, oh, I could never do that, right? Because they're kind of introverted. But there's different ways, and one of you in the couple can make that happen. I love the encouragement, you guys. Thanks, as always, for your input here at Loveology.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Well, welcome to the kitchen, where we have our kitchen couples with us, Mike and Diane Clemens, and Eric and Kara Maines.
All right, all right.
And Damien and Kenady Nash, opening up the conversation there with
Community.
Dr. Les Parrott about community, the importance of just having other couples in your
You know what?
life.
I think this topic is so important because we don't think about it very often. I think we are all living in our own bubbles of busyness, and we just, especially when you have kids, there's schedules, and everyone has their own schedule, and you've got to do this and you've got to do that, and all the nights of the week are taken up, and you think, okay, but it's so important to include friendships into your relationship and do life with other people. I like it when he said, we're just better together. Yeah. We're just better that way. Yeah.
And I guess it's important to also get the right people in your together group as well, because sometimes some negative influences can maybe have that wrong type of...
we all need people in our marriages who are for our marriages, who want to encourage us, who make us better. And that's kind of the direction we need to
And even
lean.
growing up when our kids were small, their friends were so important. And then in the teenage years, friends it was all about friends and making sure they hang around with the right peer group, to not pull them down.
We
So
need to
that can
remember
happen in
too
marriage
as adults.
Yeah, seriously. We have some friends who we have basically grown up together. We got married the same year. And then, have had kids and everything. And it's just such a special gift to be able to relate to them. They know where you're at in life. You get the same sense of humor because you've been there. Maybe your kids aren't sleeping and you're both exhausted. And so the maintenance of the friendship also looks different because when they're at the same life stage as you, they get it if you don't reply to their text or their call, or if you haven't seen them in a few months, just because life gets so busy. The maintenance looks different, and yet they know the needs because they're in it with you. And so I was also thinking too about it matters. There are so many distractions, and there's so many comparisons now we can do with Instagram and social media. And when you have friends with you who are invested in your marriage and in your success and who you are as a couple, it makes it easier when the tough times come.
I think it's the same principle behind Philippians 4:8. Focus your mind on what is true, pure, and right. It's because then the product of what will come out of your mind was true, pure, and right. But intentionally choose the people you hang out with in a marriage setting as people that will uplift you, encourage you, keep you humble, and help you keep your marriage true, pure, and right. And so be intentional about that.
That's good.
Yeah, and sometimes I know for us, being the older couple, Eric.
I made one comment about our generation being different.
I'm not going to let you lose.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
But, we've been married for 30 years, together for 38. And sometimes it's hard to have that couple, right? Because we've seen so many marriages come and go. And to find, couples that have been married and know what phase of life we're in, have adult children now. But it's important to do that because it's important to be able to, I know for me, when we get together with certain couples, I try to pull from that couple. Right? I like to watch them to see what they have, what they're doing, what can I learn, what can I take from them? Because sometimes you don't see it when you're together because you've been together for so long. Yeah. But when you're seeing other couples and you're watching them, you're like, oh, I like that. Maybe we should start doing that. That's a good idea, right? Yeah. You can always give and take when you're in a community.
That's good.
And then, of course, there's also that opportunity to refresh the other couple as well, right? Not to just pull from, but to refresh.
That's right.
And so it really is that combination, that back and forth. It's amazing, right? After all the years we've been together, what we don't know.
Yeah.
Right, and the things that we potentially take for granted, right? So yes, you can always learn, but then there's that interchange as well, where you're able to reciprocate and give back and be a part of that. It's amazing how often we find that other people are experiencing the very same thing, right? And so as we go through, it's just, it really is good habits just to have that. And they talked a little bit about like, going out to people that you don't know, right? And that may be a little bit more uncomfortable for me, right? But it's also, I think, important to be able to share with those who maybe don't have the same set of experiences or that kind of thing. And I say in these groups, solutions, not pollution. Right, so be very careful, as you said at the very beginning, that we're solution-oriented, not pollution-oriented.
Yeah. And if you don't have those friends and you're a married couple, I think the first step is stepping out too. People might not just automatically come to you. It might take some work and prioritizing that.
They mentioned it in the video how like a lot of churches have small groups or connect groups or anything like that. So maybe find your local church.
Those couples could be surprising. You might think, you know what, we're really good friends, and I never would have dreamed that we would be good friends, but something brought us together. I remember years ago, we bought a house that was a real fixer-upper, and there was like wallpaper everywhere that just needed to come down. And so I would drive the kids to school, and then I would, because there was an overlap time, I could go to the house and work on the house. And a woman that I didn't know very well said to me, from church, I'll come and help you. I've got some free time. So she came and she brought her boom boxes back in the day. She blasted music.
Boom box?
I know, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Is that from the iPhone?
You hear that, E?
Who are these people? I don't know who these people. Anyway, and so she came, brought the music, and we spent hours stripping wallpaper at our house. And she's like 15 years older than me, turned into a dear, dear friend that
we started getting together as couples as well.
And we're still really good friends today. And you never dream that you become friends, but circumstances bring you together.
Yeah.
And
it's important to know yourself well enough to know if you're a thermostat or a thermometer. Like the thermometer, you come in and the surroundings affect you. So if you're hanging out with some people and then they rub off on you and it starts bringing you down in a negative way in your marriage, or whether you kind of set the temperature like a thermostat and then you affect the others in a positive way. And so just understanding, where you're at and your strengths, and you don't want to hang out, like 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, don't be fooled, for bad company corrupts good character.
Oh, my mom used to say that all the time.
That's true.
And so, but then you can be the good character that helps someone else, like you were saying, be the good influence.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's a give and
great
take.
talk.
It is.
Good combo.
This is a good little cell group meeting group here for community group right here.
We have a community.
Yes, and important to say you can get those everywhere. When your kids are playing soccer or whatever, the opportunity to meet with couples happens really easily and really naturally if we reach out.
Be intentional.
Right.
Be intentional.
Group your life.
All right, well,
Good
stay with
stuff.
us. More to come.
You get married and you're in love and you enjoy being together, and then you add responsibility and more responsibility, and then maybe kids and more responsibility and more responsibility, and pretty soon you feel like you're just working together. And so over time, you want to keep the affection alive.
Missed an episode of A Better Us? No problem. Visit abetterus.tv and click watch, where you can enjoy past episodes and even share them with your friends. Each episode is packed with practical advice to help you and your relationship become a better us. While you're there, click subscribe to receive your free weekly marriage moment email. Also like us on Facebook to receive program previews, news about upcoming events, and inspirational quotes. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
If you want to keep enjoying your marriage over time, keep the aha in your marriage. And what do we mean by aha? Well, Psalm 90 verse 12 says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And we have talked in the past about having a meeting where you as a couple keep in sync with one another. And the reason for that meeting is to keep the aha alive. And the A in aha stands for attitudes. And there are two attitudes that will cement you together as a couple for the rest of your days. The first attitude is, we are in this together.
And we're better together. That's the second.
Right. So often what happens in marriage is you start to compete with one another to see whose agenda is right and whose agenda is better. But the reality is you're better together. And so if you have a way of reminding yourself, and we wrote a book called
The Marriage Meetup, and there's a template in there that'll help walk you through the steps to success in a marriage meetup. And having a way to make sure your attitudes are in the right place is a great way to start. So we always start with praying, and then we bring a verse that maybe God has brought across our path in our quiet times in a sermon. That reminds us of our spouse in some positive way. And then we'll pray that verse over each other, and we each bring a verse.
And the H stands for habits. Because if you don't translate your desires as a couple into actual processes and habits that you do as a couple, then life just starts to get unorganized, and then you start to argue with each other. So it takes habits to organize your schedule, to keep on top of your finances, to know what your priorities are, and what projects need to be finished in the next month or so.
And who's gonna do what?
Right. And then the last A is for affection. Because again, you aren't just having a business meeting with each other. You aren't just working through life together. In fact, you probably have figured out the obstacle to intimacy is responsibility. Because you get married and you're in love and you enjoy being together, and then you add responsibility and more responsibility, and then maybe kids and more responsibility and more responsibility, and pretty soon you feel like you're just working together. And so over time, you want to keep the affection alive. So Pam, how do we keep the affection going?
Well, one of the first things that happens in our marriage meetup is we decide when we're gonna have our date night and when we're gonna have what we call red hot monogamy.
Yep.
Light at the end of the tunnel, something to look forward to, right?
And then at the beginning and the ending of our meeting, we take time to compliment one another.
And we give those, at the beginning of the meeting, we thank our spouse for something we saw in the last week. Thank you for being there for me. Thank you for handling this task. We bring in some kind of an affirmation, encouragement. And at the end of the meeting, we thank them for something that happened during that meeting.
And that energizes Philippians 1 verse 7, which says, it's right for me to feel this way about you because I have you in my heart. And when you carry your spouse in your heart, which you can cultivate that by continually reminding yourself of the value that your spouse brings to your life. And when I carry Pam in my heart, I give her the benefit of the doubt, and I really am not very critical of her. But if our hearts disconnect, then we start evaluating each other based on behavior. And at that point, you're always in trouble because nobody behaves good enough for long enough to meet the other person's expectations.
So have a marriage meetup, a meetup that you look forward to, and it'll keep your hearts connected for years and years to come.
Okay, we are in the kitchen with Mike and Diane, Dan and Danielle. Always great to be together, guys.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Now, hopefully, with Bill and Pam there, we all had some aha moments.
Oh, aha.
See how I did that? Ah, okay.
So AHA, attitudes, habits, affection. I didn't have it memorized. I had to look down.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right.
So yeah, hopefully we did have some aha moments. Always some good ideas there, and they always suggest this marriage meetup time. I have a weekly time where you just kind of get your heads together and you cover off on some important things in marriage. And
I think a lot of what they're referring to, though, are just good habits, good loving habits. Because, you know, if you start trying to work on good habits, then before you know it, it starts affecting your life, your interpersonal relationships, everything, your kids. So it's just developing those good habits. So the first one was attitude. So how do you think about your spouse, I guess? Like, what did you think?
Because as you think about your marriage, so will your marriage be, right? If you think you have a good marriage, you're going to have a better marriage than if you think otherwise, right? If you think if you're constantly thinking I have a bad marriage and my spouse this, my spouse that, negative things, it's going to lead to a negative marriage. Completely. Your thoughts set the tone for all of it.
Attitude is everything in life, and so of course it's going to be everything in marriage. And how we think about our spouse not only affects how we act towards them, but it also affects how others view and act towards our spouse. And so, you know, we actually have a marriage podcast called Married Up. And the reason we entitled that is because normally you hear that phrase, you married up, and it thinks, oh, they're too good for you.
Right, because if someone married up, then someone married down.
Right.
But our twist on it is that you both married up, that you're both better together, that you're better for having married the other person who's different than you, who complements you and makes you better.
God built things in me that Dan needs, and Dan is designed a certain way to help me and make me better. So we both complement each other and can help each other become more like Christ. And so we need to have that attitude. That's good. Sure.
Starts with the right attitude.
That's good.
So that A and aha for attitude. And what you said made me think of Proverbs, I think it's 23:7. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he.
Right.
And so, what you said, the more
It's funny
you
how
think
the
about
Bible
things,
says everything that's modern wisdom, but long before it was ever modern wisdom. The Bible knew way back then. Yes.
Yes. As you were referencing, that I thought back on this idea of competition, right? And when you talk about, listen, we're in this together, as they said, we're in this together and we're better together, right? Understanding that, but it can become that competing thing, and what struck me is exactly what you were saying in a different way. Not compete, but complete, right? Our spouse is there to complete us, and if you add that L, if you add the love into that potion, compete turns into complete, and we do become better for being around each other. So I love you. You've said it so eloquently,
and so instead of doing this, butting heads, we go like this, and we fill the gaps that each other has in our own character.
And when we have the right attitude, it also allows us to have those words of affirmation, because those words of affirmation helps with that attitude. And it's good when you just walk by your husband and say, you know what, you are the best thing since sliced cheese. No, but when you just, throughout the day, just say kind words, and that just automatically, even if your spouse is not in that right headspace or they have an attitude, when you continue to speak those words of affirmation, that changes the attitude.
You set the atmosphere.
That's
right. Yeah, you change the atmosphere
and then
of your house.
when you hear yourself saying those words, your kids hear you saying those words too, and it all starts to really sink in
And
to
even
everybody.
your kids and yourself. You're actually convinced yourself. You hear your ears hear your mouth saying you're awesome. You start to even believe that even more. You're awesome. So you develop the habit of doing that, which is the H, right? Bill and Pam are great at habits. Like I've been out on tour with them, and like they're what they say they do. Like every time
they live healthy habits.
Every meal time in a restaurant, wherever we are, after they say grace, they kiss each other. Like little things that they actually live that out.
Yeah, for sure.
You are
Well, he's just speaking truth now. He's just speaking truth. And then the A, the last A is affection. And I know that, I mean, we all know this. We've been married more than a couple minutes. That you can get busy in life. And you can, those responsibilities, like Bill said, that responsibility
comes again. Work and you add all these responsibilities.
It feels like you're working together.
You lose that affectionate part of your marriage. And so it's so important to reclaim that. To just, out of nowhere, just walk up behind her and give her a little squeeze, or just, how about this? This is what, okay, I gotta confess right now. Last week, this one came up to me in the kitchen and boom, a 10-second kiss. I mean, it was out of nowhere. It's like
right here in the Better Us kitchen.
Shall we recreate that?
Anointing in this kitchen.
No, we're not going to recreate it right now. Don't worry. But just doing something like that, just impromptu, just get that. If you've had like the affection kind of dwindle in your marriage, do something to get it back. Just you be the one to start something.
They say it all starts in the kitchen.
It does.
Which is why we bring a Better Us to you in the kitchen.
That's right. Let it start right here.
And talk about impromptu. Oh, sorry, Dan. I didn't mean to cut you off. But this weekend, we were we had to go downtown for a meeting. And after the meeting, we get in the car and I'm thinking we're going home, and we're riding and we're going in a route that we normally, I'm like, you're going away from home. What's happening right now? And I said, so where are you going? We're going someplace? And he was like, yeah, I just want to buy you something. I was like, and me, I'm like, what? You used to do this stuff? Like, why are you going to buy me something?
Was it shoes?
What do you want? Right? And I'm asking all, and he's like, I just want to buy you something. Like, it's okay. Like, just enjoy it. Like, but I was all like, but we don't do this anymore. Like what's up, right? And it was all, he just wanted to show, like, he wanted to do something nice for me, right? And it was so awesome. And that afternoon, we had a great afternoon. And I was like, oh, babe, you're the best. Way to go, Mike.
No. Reality is, you're the best. Yes.
And Mike is definitely one that has a lot of responsibility, like piled on. Football, managing and all this, but home and he's still able to have those aha moments.
That's right.
To show you that you're important.
But it proves that it doesn't take much effort. It doesn't take much time. You know, little things can go a long way.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we did mention earlier about doing this in front of the kids, at least show the affection, show the kind words, because the impact it has on them, never underestimate that. They're listening, they're watching, and it gives them such a sense of security, that mom and dad love each other. It's really special.
Our anchors in this family are safe. And that's what you want your kids to know.
And beyond that, I think it teaches them how to be treated as well.
That's right.
How to treat others themselves as well as how to be treated.
That's so good.
Well, I know we had some aha moments in this teaching, and so hope you did too. Stay with us, more to come.
Hey friends, Ron and Ann here. We're so glad you're with us at A Better Us, and we pray your marriage is blessed as you take this in.
Be sure and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and enjoy this video.
It's been another great show. We're so glad you joined us.
Perhaps you've had some aha moments with Bill and Pam Farrel as they challenge us to consider attitudes, habits, and affections.
The goal is to keep our hearts connected as a couple, making everything run more smoothly, which then raises our overall satisfaction in our marriage.
Right. And we also learned about the positive role that community can have in our relationship, like having another couple or two to connect with, or perhaps a small group from your church.
I know we found that to be true for sure. It can be so encouraging and energizing for you, especially when there are people who speak life to your marriage and can share from their own experience and struggles.
Right. We're all a work in progress, but the best work starts when we allow God to do a deep work in us through a personal relationship with Jesus.
If you're not sure how to take the first step toward that kind of relationship with Jesus, or if you simply want someone to pray with you about what you're going through right now, you can call our 24/7 prayer line. There's a caring person waiting to answer your call.
Or you can visit our website at abetterus.tv for lots of marriage resources that will help to strengthen your relationship with God and with your spouse.
Thanks for spending some time with us today. And remember, with God, there is always hope to become a better us.
Hey friends, we really hope you're enjoying the marriage conversations here with A Better Us on our YouTube channel.
We have hundreds of more helpful marriage videos designed to give you hope and tools to make your marriage better.
You can see just a few options we think you might like here and here.
Enjoy! Oh, and make sure you subscribe by clicking here so you don't miss out on all the great marriage help we have coming your way soon.